Hey everyone, so this is Ziki here, and I'm back again. First of all, I just want to apologize to you, my friends, because I've not been able to give you updates. But let's just see how the network is going to permit us. Is I give you the story as quickly as possible, okay, before the interruptions begin, okay? So the story that I have for you is about foreigners in Zambia. Now, the background of the story is that Zambia is set to host their 41st ordinary session of the Executive Council of the African Union from July 14th to July 17th. Now, you might recall that I shared with you some updates about deportations that have been happening in Zambia. Like the last story that I shared with you was about people from Rwanda, people from Mozambique, people from Zimbabwe being arrested in Zambia, okay, and being meant to be deported. Now, today again, we saw another press release coming out saying that about 121 illegal immigrants have also been arrested and are set to be deported from Zambia. Last week, there was in the news Ethiopians who were arrested. They went on a hunger strike saying that they wanted to be deported back to their countries, especially those that have served their terms. Now, with this in mind, a Zambian legislature has now come out to say that why are we conducting mass deportations of Africans days before the African Union meeting? Okay, so he went on to say that, okay, the African Union is aggressively promoting the integration of trade, business, and people amongst Africans. But there are some individual countries that are spending a lot of money conducting and declaring other Africans as illegal immigrants in their countries. So I'm just going to play for you a short video clip, and then we are going to continue with our video. And if the network permits, I'm going to be sharing with you a link, and you can join into the discussion. Okay, let me just play for you a short audio, and then we continue.
So on business and trade, we've established the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, where we break down these borders, where there'll be no tariffs, there'll be literally no borders for our people to trade. Remember the issues that we are trading with the rest of the world up to 88%. And to Africa, we're only trading amongst ourselves 12%. So the purpose of the Free Continental Trade Area is to literally bring down all these borders so that our people can trade without any tariffs, without any barriers, without any concerns. Zambia has assented to the Continental Free Trade Area. The other one is the free movement of people. There's a protocol where we are promoting that Africans don't need visas to travel to another country. This senseless acts of declaring your own people as illegal immigrants, instead of just having them register with you and then begin to monitor them, Africa frowns upon that. So we are using these colonial laws that were set up to promote the integrity of our so-called sovereign states, which actually even just divided all of us. We are using those colonial laws to exclude other Africans from our own country. We have repeatedly condemned South Africa because the concerns there has been that has escalated to xenophobic attacks, where whether you are legal or illegal, you suffer these attacks by nationals who just are frowned upon other Africans. So to promote that, we've set up this protocol that should allow for the establishment of free movement, free movement of people. So this issue of declaring Congolese, Zimbabweans, Rwandese, Burundis as illegal, you lock them up in jail and forget them in jail because there's no money to deport them, is just going against the values of the African Union. In fact, there's a promotion that we should have a single passport. West Africa is already doing it. You don't need a passport to go across the entire West Africa. All you need is your national document. You have these tuntembas that are being demolished from Lusaka International Airport, Charleston, and the entire area up to Mulungushi we destroyed. These, in many cases, these are designated trading places with licenses, and one micro businesses.
Okay, so what he's saying is that why are you conducting mass deportations of Africans days before the African Union meeting? His argument is that, Africa is trying to promote one Africa, open borders, open trade and everything. So why are these deportations, happening now? So I'm going to share a link here as I continue, hoping that our network is going to be okay for us all right. So let me just put the link there. As usual, guys, you know how we do it. You can join via the link. And oh my goodness, I think let me share the link with you there. Hey, Geoffrey, sorry. So, hey, Geoffrey, you are Zambian. You might want to join into the stream and tell us what you think, okay? This is happening in your country. Zambia is going to be hosting the African Union meeting from the 14th to the 17th. So they've been conducting mass deportations, okay, of illegal immigrants. So this legislature is saying, why are we doing it now? Let the people be, let the African leaders who are coming into Zambia come and see Zambia as it is, okay? So why are you doing all this cleanup? Okay, someone says here, Zambian policy on migration is always awkward. I have a friend who is serving 1 year sentence in prison. Wow, that's so crazy. Okay, so he went on to say that as African Union delegates arrive, they will be greeted by prominent news of the former First Lady appearing before the law enforcement agencies and the mass deportations of their fellow nationals. It is these activities that make the African Union appear a toothless body, as member states speak Pan-African values but act totally different, okay, and usually Eurocentric. Okay, so this is what I wanted to share with you. But let me go back to the video and we continue to listen to what he says. Okay, and also let me know what you think
That's
in the comment section.
Africa. We should not be ashamed of our people trading on designated places. We should not. That's what makes Africa. And my condemnation is that when it comes to big businesses and corporate, we give them big.
Hey, Sebastian.
Hey, Ziggy.
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm good, and you?
I'm fine. You were following. What do you think?
Well, I think that guy, what he was saying doesn't make sense at all, because number one, this free trade, Africa free trade thing, it's close to impossible unless we have sections, right? Maybe SADC, maybe the West block, that block, but like a whole Africa free trade, yes, but free movement of people, no. For one, South Africa will never have that. You know that as a fact. And I don't think any other SADC country would have that, and it's close to impossible, because if you have free movement of people, it's free movement of, basically you're telling people to move with contraband, all the illegal stuff will just be moving in and out of borders with no control. So that's important. I feel like we should all bolster our borders and make it that way, so that we can have free trade with goods and services, but not people. People must come in. Yeah, why can't we have a system like the rest of the world? Why only Africa must we always compromise and have this whole Africa? We are Africa. These borders were imposed by colonialism, but okay, they are there now. They were imposed, but they're there. So let's use these borders to ensure security. I mean, we are all different sovereign states, right? I know we cannot take on countries like China and America because of these borders. These borders were made for us not to be able to have that type of power. But erasing the borders will not help. We have too many different cultures. All these things are different. And on the Zambia thing, I just think Zambia is practicing their sovereignty. That's all they're doing. There's nothing wrong with deporting people who are legal. That's the whole world is doing it. Why must we condemn Zambia because it's in Africa? When America does it, there's no condemnation. When China does it all the time, Ziki, here they don't play. They don't play in China with that game of you
I
guys,
know.
whatever, xenophobic. Yeah, here it's straightforward. It's rules. The rules are in the constitution. It's in law. They use their law to the best of their ability and they have people to use it. So why, when we in Africa are doing it, all other Africans from other countries, they condemn us? Me personally, I'm from South Africa, so I know the condemnation. Zambia is only starting to feel it now, and it's going to become worse for Zambia because they're doing it on a large scale. Botswana's also doing it. But you
Mm.
know, there's a thing. Why is it wrong for Africans to do it, but when the Europeans do it, there's no problem? That's
Mm.
all I have to say. That's all I don't understand.
Wow. Okay. Hey, Lozi, thank you for joining.
Oh yes, Sister Zik, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you doing?
No, beautiful as always. Look, you know my position and you know what I'm
I
gonna
know.
say. Yeah, man. Look, good conversation. Anyway, kudos to Zambia. I will always be against people fighting each other for such. You know, it's unfortunate that these governments of Africa end up agreeing to unrealistic laws. You know, I mean, there's no continent that has ever done this in human history. Wherever continent existed, it's actually for the first time in human history that we see people at this scale working together. It was never achieved, and it has
Mm.
always been because of lack of resources. So people think freedom and liberation and democracy comes because people fought for that. No, among people, we will always have hierarchies. We will always have groups that will outcompete other groups in tribal or nationalist, and they will destroy another one and take their resources. What you see today is that technology has liberated people. It has always been technology. So as technology advances, it increases the scale of manufacturing, preservation of food, and we also become more efficient with food. We don't waste. So that has created that has increased standards of living. Then you see the tone of like tribalism lowering, you see nationalism going down, you see xenophobic going down. In fact, today we are actually better than yesterday as human beings. But what African leaders are trying to do at the moment, currently, in the situation of Africa, in the context of Africa, it's impossible. I mean,
Mm.
way developed countries than African countries, richer than African countries, more advanced than African countries, they haven't taken these steps. So it's ideology forced on people, and it could be that the Western is behind this, trying to create chaos in Africa. Because have a look, Zagin, right? If you ask individuals, it's people who want borders to open for countries that are greater than theirs. So if you go ask maybe a Zimbabwean or a Nigerian and say, should we have open borders? They say yes, looking at South Africa, or Egypt, or Botswana.
Yeah.
They never yes looking at Mali, saying, okay, we should open our borders with Mali or Burundi because the economy is inferior to yours at the moment. So it's not even about one Africa or unity. It's survival, you know. So as the brother said there, he said it should be about trade at the moment. And at the moment, trade should be systematic, whereas countries, the next government to the next
Mm.
government is pushing trade. Then we can have the exports and imports of Zimbabwe carried. I will say I will support the idea that most of those should be pushed by Zimbabweans. The exports and imports of Zimbabwe, including manufacture, meaning more labor and more jobs for the Zimbabwean. Unfortunately, countries like Zimbabwe, many countries in Africa, they don't have stable economies. So most people will support the idea of open border because they have targets. They have got countries that they want to run to as we speak. So it's impossible. The government need to be specific about this terminology. What is the free movement in Africa? Then we need to get those specifications and then try to educate our people, because someone might think, oh, free movement, then it's open for all. It's not gonna be like that.
Hmm. Interesting. But then I wanted to ask, like you see, this legislature here is actually asking, like, why he's against the deportations. Okay, he's
Oh,
against the deportations of Africans. This one here.
look, I think okay. Let's dive deep into that. You're looking at Zambia right now, which Apparently, they're hosting an Africa AU meeting along this month, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, so the deportation of Zambia, what is it? Because as Africans, sometimes I don't know if it's YouTubers or media, we like to tweak the titles and suit a specific narrative. It's global. It's done everywhere. Are they deporting illegal migrants or they just deporting everybody who's not Zambian?
That's the good question.
Yes. So I think if I can get that, if we can get that clear,
It's
and then we
illegal,
go,
illegal.
it's illegals, right? Then by law, by their constitution laws, I don't know what their laws says, but if this is backed up by their constitution laws, which often are supported by the other global nations, I think kudos to them. Because remember, the individual countries, they draft their constitution laws to a certain extent, but in the grand scheme of things, these are global laws. You know, they are voted by other countries as well. Like in SADC, they also come together and vote for these laws, the global communities as well. You know, so I
Yeah.
think if it's legal, kudos to them. Every country should do that at the moment, because we are not too advanced to have like open borders. It will create chaos. We still have got people who will take advantage of certain conditions and including doing crime, you know, to be fair. So I'm against people who are against migration, because there's also positive sides of migration. If you create a society where it's isolated and they never compete with other cultures or other people from other walks of life, then you can it can I don't know, I'm not good in English, I run out of words, but that society can end up being, I won't say it might not be that competitive, meaning it can slow down their advancement. So it's also good to compete with other cultures, because they also can bring positive aspects of it. The question is how you manage that now. So you're just gonna allow everyone to come in, or you're gonna create a system where you can scrutinize who comes in your country and who goes out, you know.
Because also I want to talk about, he mentioned that these African leaders, when they are gathered together and they're making all these these laws, they agree, okay, to to free movement of trade people,
Yeah.
they agree together. But when they go back to the individual countries, they do the difference, okay. They don't apply what
Yeah.
they've agreed when they are gathered together. Again, this is another argument that he had.
Good one, Ziki. That's very, very good. That's very good. Yeah. Look, I think I can put a thought into that. See, governments changes, right? When they agreed with this SADC free movement, I think it was 10 years ago. If you look at the government of Zambia today, it's not the government of 10 years ago that represented that movement, or in any country in the SADC, right? And these are leaders agreeing with this. They come together, they vote for this. They don't even consult the citizenships to vote for these kind of things. I mean the citizens themselves. The civilians are excluded from this, and the people are the ones who are gonna feel impacts of these decisions. Let's be honest, Zeki. If we open all our borders, traffic is gonna be in 3 or 2 countries in the southern, until that country collapses and there's no longer resources to compete. Then they're gonna move to another country and do the same. So it should be free movement, looking at how we have raised our economies. We cannot have our economy operating at 60%, and then we have Zimbabwe economy operating at 10%. Then we open the border. We know what's going to happen. It's going to be one-way free ticket. So it's just going to create chaos after chaos. So we need to reach a certain level as a SADC region, where our general economies, all of us, are raised to a certain. There must be a bar where we say, okay, if we raise all the SADC countries to middle class, right, then we can open, because nobody will want to leave Mozambique to come to South Africa if we are all almost having a relative middle class. It should be relative. Then when we reach that point, we can have free movement, because even those who want to do business, they will have an easy of doing business, because I believe as we raise the standards of living, we also suppress crime. So the individuals who will be looking forward to take advantage of this situation will be lesser. Meaning, then in that sense, SADC will be almost like one country. So now it's very complex now, because we still have got the countries that are very, very chaotic. what we can do is, the question is what we can do to lift these countries to reach the level of other countries. And I don't think
Yes.
opening borders is the answer.
This is interesting. Sebastian, you heard what the gentleman was talking about here, saying that we need to be trading, we need to be like other countries that have agreed to let people have free movement. But us, especially in the SADC region, we have not yet reached that level of, of understanding.
Yes, yes. No, I agree with him. I agree 100%. I feel like he's right when he talks about we should raise like the all countries should have like a level middle class so that people don't be moving in a way that this one is going there because there's problems in his country. That's a thing that I like. But again, it goes back to the solutions. How do we get that to happen? Like if we look at South Africa now, it's going down the drain. Nobody can debate on that. Nobody, unless there's a change of government, things are gonna go very bad, right? And we always use Zimbabwe as a spectrum to see, okay, this is happening because of this, that, and if we do this, this is gonna happen, and we won't be able to stop whatever's happening. What's up, bro?
Wow.
So I think that we should work together as people, but it's gonna be different if we have a middle class of another country or so-called middle class voting for the same political party that is oppressing their people. You know, yeah. So we have the same problem in South Africa, in Mozambique, in Zimbabwe, in Namibia. It's the same thing. They're all ruled by liberation movements, and the only one that's willing to probably leave power is gonna be ANC, but it's gonna be war. People are looking at it and say it's gonna be war. But I feel like if we all put our hands together and stop being against each other in a way, you know. But the thing about it is being able to come together is gonna be also very, very difficult because you have cultural differences. Let's say the South Africans have stereotype against Zimbabweans. Zimbabweans have stereotype against South Africans. So I feel like there's also going to be different. But I feel like we should also just try and make it work so that we all have a level standing in all our countries. So that movement can be a leveled movement and must be because I'm going to visit South Africa or I have family in South Africa and I'm going back to my country because I have to go and work. It shouldn't be that I'm gonna stay in South Africa because my country is they're messing it up over there. That becomes a whole nother problem because now it brings all the illegals, the contraband, the cigarettes, all these things, and this is problems that we're dealing with right now. And when it comes to terms like that, when you look at places like Nigeria, Ghana, it's hard to understand why those people are leaving their country. So that it goes to show that it's so this is such a complex issue that even the richest countries in Africa are struggling. The
No,
citizens
brother.
also want to leave.
Can I interrupt you, brother? Just
Yeah.
of all the points you said, everything was fine. I think you're wrong when you say places like Ghana or Nigeria, we don't know what they live in. They actually can be explained. I don't know how much of research you do around those countries or people from those countries, but hey, bro, I think even Zimbabwe is better if we be practical. So as you go up, it gets worse. Look, the SADC is one of the most stable region in Africa with the north. So Zimbabwe has benefited from having neighboring countries like South Africa, Botswana, Zambia, which are doing relatively well. And Mozambique has been trying to pick up. So it's no
It
longer
has been trying to
Mozambique is
pick
no
up these
longer
days.
yeah. So Mozambique is no longer worse compared to 10 years ago. I mean, if you look at Maputo, I was looking at that city, Brad. The way ANC has allowed people to build shacks in Johannesburg, Maputo is even way cleaner now today. So you can see that certain countries are picking up economically and not just looking at a city. So the situation of Zimbabwe, it's not good, but comparing to West Africa, hey, my man, when you go to West Africa, even if you look at a bar that shows standards of living like human development index or GDP per
Yeah.
capita, it's really not that positive. And it's many population is higher than SADC there. So it's really chaos. And
Yeah, but I'm looking at it. Okay, but let me say, I'm looking at it from a spectrum of people power. They have a lot of people, so it's easier to revolt against the government. Whereas in our countries, it's difficult. It's very difficult. Zimbabwe has 15 million people. Like it's easy to stop that right there when it starts, compared to
Okay,
places like Nigeria.
let me interject there, right there. South
Okay,
Africa is gonna reach a point where we're gonna be like Zimbabweans if we don't remove ANC in 2024. See, the
100%.
Zimbabweans used to have a fighting spirit like us, but they've been liberated, I think, about 40 or 41 years ago. What happened is that Mugabe, with Mugabe's era, he brought education level high compared to many countries in the SADC of that time, right? So the more you have educated people don't have like that thing of mobilizing and taking it to the streets. So that now you have like I wouldn't say docile people towards the government, but educated people tend to calculate more. They tend to, what is the right way? They the right way. They don't have you see, it's easy for uneducated people to mobilize as a group and say fuck this, because they just need one guy who can push propaganda and then press the button, then it's on. But if you're dealing with a population that has increased literacy rate, it's not easy to say, look, let's come on the streets and now approach the government. They're gonna be like, no, can't we talk to the Commonwealth countries? Can't we approach this in a democratic way? And that's where they lose. If you look at us, what happened during apartheid government, we took shit to the streets, but it was also because most of our people didn't care, that they didn't have to rationalize everything. So it was easy to just ban anything. But as you educate people, it's not easy for them to just revolt everything and just bear. So if we don't remove ANC by 2024, even South Africans, we are becoming like that because we are most educated today in Africa. So the more we get educated, is the more we're gonna want to rationalize everything that is happening in our country, and it's the lesser we can mobilize and ban shit. And then that's how I feel like in the SADC, Zimbabwe today is in that situation. If you go to West Africa, it's a whole different story. I think they have this culture of idolizing the leaders. They see the leaders as this superior circle that they cannot be touched. And also military bases there. Those are military state countries where even USA has got so many military bases, and you don't forget about France and China. The chances are these bases they operate as secret intelligences. So the agenda is to also pump in weapons to the rebels or terrorist organizations and push the agenda, doctrinate these people from the young age, and then they carry the agenda. So when you go to West Africa, it's a whole different game. No matter how many they are, they're more or less useless because they all fear this minority that is in government. They really, really fear them. So it's different.
So in other ways, the best solution here is for governments to make sure that they have working economies, so that when people want to move around, they are not moving around out of desperation.
Oh yes, I think the brother agrees with that. I think we agree. We are South Africans. Most of the times we're gonna agree to
Yeah, we
that.
agree.
So I don't know if we are biased, but we're talking from experience as well. What we've seen in the past 28 years, there has been positive side of migration, but I would say 60%, 70% is negative. So I would say an average South African won't go for open borders. It has been one-sided. You don't see South Africans running even to Botswana and Namibia, even if they're doing relatively well, than like us, we still not going there in numbers. And it's because, as I said, it proves my theory. If you look at migration between Botswana, Namibia, and South Africa, you cannot even feel it because our living standards are almost the same. That this actually speaks to my theory. We already see that it's happening. So that means if Mozambique, Zimbabwe, and Lesotho, which are the most problematic SADC regions closer to South Africa, if they had same standards of living, they won't be coming to South Africa. Remember, Zimbabweans are individuals. They just come in here to survive for themselves, to be honest, because they're no longer organized. Like the Zimbabwe that liberated Zimbabwe, those generation is gone. We have generations of individuals who just think for themselves. There's no collective goal or agenda, and the government is behind that. The government made sure that you guys don't think as collectives. So if I give you an example, in South Africa, if you go to places like Soweto now, or Mamelodi or Soshanguve, you find youth that has taken the culture from the previous generation. They are political, they are organized, they look after. That's where like the political movement of South Africa starts, historical, even to this day. If you look at even Operation Dudula, the agenda comes from Soweto, but they obviously communicating with other townships. If I ask you about Zimbabwe, do you have settings like that? I'm suspecting the answer is no. You don't have communities of youth where they can mobilize and start a movement. Whereas in South
Yeah, and
Africa, we
also those
always
who
had
are
those.
there, it's like you're saying, is very isolated cases. And even like you can even tell, like someone I shared a video which was talking about Zimbabwe, and it was also talking about the elections and everything, but very few Zimbabweans commented on that video. But there's one brother who commented. They said it really amazes me that when someone is talking about voting, voter education, and things that can help Zimbabweans, no Zimbabweans take part in it. But when you post something else, then Zimbabweans will just fall on that thing. Why is it like that? And unfortunately, I really don't have my Zimbabwean family coming in to join on that. But one person noted that and said, Ziki, have you noticed that each time you share something about voter education, about Zimbabwe, things that no one really cares about it?
Yeah, but to be fair, Ziki, I don't know if the brother wants to reply because I don't want to overtalk him. He came here first before me, to be honest. I would like to respect that. But if I can add, if he allows, I would like to respond to that.
No, no,
Sebastian, do you have
allow, bro,
anything?
allow.
Oh,
No, you
okay.
can talk, you can talk. I'll talk after.
Oh, okay. Look, I think that's a very broad generalization. But I will say to some certain extent, there's a certain extent, there's a sense of truth in that, because most generalizations, they do hold some certain level of truth. It's just that
Yeah,
generalizing is not a best system to use in most of the time. Even in South Africa, I can say the same in South Africa here. I mean, we have bunch of youth now that will dance to Amapiano, or people like Zotwa, or people like Zotwa. They've got more followers than probably in Catalaks.
it
So
is true.
you can, yeah, and this has happened because for the past 28 years, our economy has been positive to the people, even though it's not the best at, like, if you compare to other countries that are developed. But in African standards, we have lived better than before, any time before apartheid. So this has created a bunch of young people who are no longer connected with reality. Their priorities are on the trends, and these are like trends that don't build us. It's just easy because it has a sense of laziness. It's easy to follow Zoto naked because there's nothing to think there. You don't need to apply logic or rationalize anything. But if now we bring a very political young South African who's concerned about economy, who's questioning these political leaders we have, who's questioning everything, history, our economy today, where we going, that's boring for them, because now they need to apply energy. They need to sit down as collective and start to ask questions and think. They don't want to think. And I think that's the same generally in Africa, in Zimbabwe too. I'm not surprised. But you do have people who cares. It might be a smaller percentage, but I
A
have
smaller
seen Zimbabweans.
percentage, yeah, but they are
Yeah,
there.
yes. The most thing I don't like about Zimbabweans generally is I've seen a sense of entitlement and to probably neighboring countries, and I don't know where that comes from. For me, but I think it's Zimbabweans who are in South Africa most of the times. For me, I think it's a distraction for them, because if you feel entitled to another country and you told yourself that already this country also belongs to me, then there's never a day that you're gonna mobilize and come together and tackle the real issues of your country, because you have found a new home that has welcomed you. You don't need to you don't need to do the job, because currently Zimbabwe, there's still a lot of jobs to do there, and people don't want to do that. So I think that plays a role, that level of entitlement. If we can find out why is it like that, and think maybe that will make more Zimbabweans start to think of home if they cannot be comfortable anymore. I mean, comfort has got its own repercussions. The more comfortable a group of people are, the lesser they will advance. It's just nature there.
It's true. Anyway,
Yeah.
let me read some comments here. Someone says Zimbabweans ignore voter education because they just get rigged, even if they try going to the polls fairly. Okay. And someone says, we can't even blame Europe for the borders. Borders are there for stability. Okay, here in South Africa, this ideology was brought by Julius Malema to serve his purpose. Open borders for trade is okay. But free movement is very dangerous. It's happening here, okay? So anyway, let me just play again.
Big trading spaces. We even give them electricity, water, and power as in economic free zones. None of our people are in those economic free zones. For multinationals like mining companies, we give them tax incentives. We give them, they buy power, electricity at far cheaper rate than our people do buy it. We favor the big businesses and corporates that are actually not even Africans. These are Europeans and Americans and Asians in many cases. And when it comes to our people, we are harassing them, we are calling them vendors, we are removing them from markets, we are locking them up, seizing their goods, destroying their timbers, which they have established at great cost. 10,000 kwacha is a lot of money to our people. Again, that goes against the core values of the African Union. The African Union is about peasants, it's about ordinary people, it's about those small businesses. It's not about big businesses. You wish to keep Lusaka clean? Yes, you can.
Zeki, can you just pause for a second? I'm listening to this brother. I just wanna. Can you pause? Who's
Yes.
this? Who's speaking there? If you
It's a
don't mind, I'd
Zambian
like.
legislature.
Wow, that's what they have in government. Okay, look, listen. He's wrong about Africa trade or AU at the moment. The aim is actually not for small business or anything. I think he needs to get his own understanding in this whole thing, because for me, as the brother said, this whole thing is not gonna work. There's no continent that has done this. And the brother asked, why is Africa supposed to just be free for all? You know, there's like some parasitic element in this whole thing. The AU is trying to address the bigger issue. So in this instance, African countries not gonna grow with a small scale of business. That's not gonna happen. It has never been achieved anywhere. Africa is gonna grow at a corporate level. You know, the question is, how do we kick the Western corporates now that has monopolized Africa, which I think is what I agree with him on. But you can understand, anyone can understand how we ended up where we are now with this Western corporation. I think, Zeki, if I remember last time on your channel, we discussed how can we control our own narrative so that we can fight the propaganda and indoctrination. Today, an African will be happy to go to a Gucci store in Sandton and buy Gucci. But you cannot really blame the individuals. This has been perpetuated, like quite often when you look at the media, it's what they sell to an average person. We are human beings at the end of the day. We take information, we consume it, and we leave it. It becomes, even Malema, the same Pan-African guy, he's in Ibiza now. He was in, I don't know if he's back, but he's in Ibiza enjoying himself. The guy who preaches about open borders, he didn't visit Burundi or Mali for his holiday, or even Zimbabwe. He will never go there. He's wearing Gucci in Ibiza now, probably sleeping with Western women. And in Ibiza, it's in Spain, a member of NATO. The same guy who was for BRICS opposing NATO. He is now in the hub of the Western, enjoying their infrastructure, and is going to come back and preach Pan-African to his minions who are unemployed as I speak. So you can see, I always say Malema is a Western project. People are just too stupid. Malema is not the one who's actually preaching for open borders. He's just new into this. I'm responding to that comments you were reading, Zeki. It's actually ANC from the go. I think ANC was formed in 1912, if I'm correct. And ANC is actually, I think, the black oldest national, political party, or probably the oldest African national party, if not a black oldest national party. If you read the abbreviation of ANC, it never speaks of South Africa. It's African National Congress. Their aim was always, the target was always to Africa. And this is not because they love Africa. That approach, it's actually embedded in the Western idea. They literally trying to replace what Western has done in Africa.
Yeah.
You know, their aim is to lock the entire continent and control it. And I'm not saying it's a negative thing, but they're willing to achieve that even at the detriment of South African citizens. So people need to understand where we come from. It's actually ANC that has pushed Pan-Africanism. Malema is a baby of ANC. He's just a far left. He's extreme about his ideologies, but it's actually ANC behind this whole thing.
Wow. Sebastian, do you have anything before I finish the video? The audio.
No, I totally agree with the guy.
I don't know what happened to you.
Yo, can you hear me?
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm saying like I totally agree with this guy saying the ANC started this whole thing. I also agree with that. But I also think that, you know, when I look at China and then I look at South Africa, I feel like these multinational corporations, they need to be here, you know. I feel like we shouldn't be trying to put this whole thing of, you know, Africa should do away with these things to put our things in a way. I feel like we should be using them to learn. You know, when you look at China copies everything, you know. I feel like Africa, we should do the same. We should take from these multinational corporations and make our own, you know. So I feel like that would kind of, like, because in South Africa, if you look at stuff like drip, it's drip, and you know, there's another thing of I think it's Matosa, you know, very expensive brands, you know. Yeah, and Batu. These are very expensive. Yeah, very expensive South African brands, and you can see these guys took from these Western multinational corporations. You know, they learned everything that has to run with these things and how to implement it and get the whole marketing strategies right. And you know, this guy, what is it? I think it's Likao. You know, his story is motivation to a lot of people that, you know, you can take from these things and make whatever you want to make of it, and you'll be very big. You know, but I really like the Matosa thing because, you know, Matosa doesn't appeal to the low class group. They're very expensive things, you know, that it shows that, you know what, you can also make it that way. You can also make it that you don't have to always be appealing to a certain group. You can also appeal to the high class market, you know. So I feel like us as Africans, we always want, and the thing about South Africa also, I feel like also we don't address all the time is our sense of entitlement. You know, we have a problem with this whole, I want stuff for free in South Africa. You know, that is the only thing I hate about South Africa is the fact that we want everything for free, which I don't know where this happens in the world, but I think in Africa, we're the only country that gives people grant in South Africa. You know, I was talking about this to somebody, you know, and I was like, the white people in South Africa don't want grant. And I would understand the model of not wanting grant, but I feel like it wouldn't work because we have already become too dependent on grant. And the whole thing of the government giving people houses. The main reason people are building shanties is because the government promises houses. So when you take a stand, because I live in Kimberley, you know, so where I live, the housing market went down because of people building shanties because they are promised land. They promised it, but before they can get the land legally, they take it, right? So they build all these shanties on it, and then what does the government do? They give these people electricity. Number one, the land they're on is still illegal, but the government gives them electricity. And number two, these people will tell you, you know what? I live with my parents. I'm only building a shanty here so that I can get a free house. That's the only thing. Like me, as I'm talking to right now, I own 3 RDP houses, and I'm in China, and I only got them because of shanties. You know. So I feel like this entitlement thing that they brought up, you know, the whole thing. I always tell people the whole thing about Mandela is he had good values, but his campaign that he was running on, I feel like it became useless after some moments, you know. So I feel like he shouldn't have been promising people houses or whatever. He was already going to be president. And now the ANC is keeping that policy up, which is bankrupting us. It's hurting South Africa's economy. The whole grant thing. Every time you make a baby, they pay you. Every time you do this, the government is just paying you. The rest, I mean, road accident fund is also useless because you in an accident. Sometimes it's even your fault, but the government pays you, and they pay you a lot, millions. I don't get it. Now they have a backlog. I think it's a backlog of about I think somewhere between it's somewhere between 10 billion somewhere there backlog, which is supposed to paying people that amount of money. Whereas that amount of money could be going somewhere into our health system, our education system. I feel like us as South Africans, the way the government ANC has made us so comfortable with what is happening, we forget everything else, like the problems. Look, our education system is we good. Our education is high, but it's probably I would say it's the worst because number one, in South Africa, the education doesn't teach you to be independent. It teaches you to be dependent. You're always dependent. You know, you don't have your own mentality where in South Africa. It's only the struggles that make you become independent. When you look outside, children playing in mud. Yeah.
Okay, let's hear. Hello, Reddy.
Hi guys, how are you doing?
We are fine, thank you. You were following?
Yes. You know the bottom the top right dude had a mouthful to say, but it's everything he just said isn't based on facts.
Okay.
Like I don't know where you get your opinions from, but I think sometimes you need to do your research before coming on a public platform and making such assumptions. When you say that the South African education system is the worst, worst in terms of what? Because 7 out of the top 10 best universities in Africa are located in South Africa, and we are the second most literate country in Africa. So what are you talking about?
Can I just can I apply balance before the brother respond? Because Zeki, I don't know what's happening, but we cannot read our names on the screen. But it's okay. It's not a trains match. It's just 4 of us at the moment. I think I do agree with what you said, Reddy. I also agree with certain things he said, but I think he's not well informed about certain things. So I wanted to give him enough time to speak. I was going to respond to him. He does have a sense of truth, but you also spoke. I think I agree with you most on this, what you just responded now. I think he's getting not proper information. Due to education, I think he's comparing to developed countries because he's already in China. You know, as you can imagine, the level of education is basically relatively higher there than compared to us. I don't think he's looking at it comparing to the continent. So he's not comparing us to the West. He's basically comparing us to the best, which I don't think we're there. But everything you said about the stats is 100%. I mean, our universities are literally doing the most in Africa and even in the world. University of Cape Town, it's in top 115 globally. And it's among like more than 4,000 universities. So you can see the level of education that the current South Africans are getting. And more than 78.7% of our universities are made of Black South African students. So yeah.
No, I agree with you guys, but I wasn't basing it on the African issue. I wasn't. Because
but what we're saying, my brother, is that when coming on public platforms, your opinions must be factual. They must be well researched, and you should talk like someone who's intelligent. I mean, when you come here and say we have the worst education system, and one thing you hate about South Africans is that we are entitled. Well, like what? So how is it entitlement when we are demanding what government promised us? Did you say? So
that's the thing. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Government made us this way. I'm not meaning we're entitled. Bro, we're not supposed to be getting all these things like the way we're getting them. It doesn't happen anywhere else.
But
you're wrong. You're wrong.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
In Africa.
Because
like
why are you comparing us? Why are you comparing the best country in Africa to African standards? I mean, we are way past that level. Why can't we be compared to the best countries in the world? I mean, it's
but now you're being hypocritical. But about the education, I was saying the same thing.
No, but let me finish. It's a well-known fact that in the USA people receive what we call
they receive it's kind of like grants. It's just say grants. It's more like equivalent of grants, and they're getting about 5 times larger than us. Yeah, so
exactly. So it's even they even termed it the Obamacare. Like I forgot what's the actual meaning. You understand? It's a whole it's a whole slew of food stamps and you know, and a whole range of government subsidies. In fact, what
but they can afford
compared,
the difference.
yeah,
That's what I'm telling you. There's a difference. They can afford it,
but
bro.
wait, guys, wait. I just want to, because Reddy, when you called, I was going to actually break this down to him and explain to him. I think let me just do it for him because I agree with you most, but I think I've got a quicker way of approaching it. He was wrong about saying South Africa is the only country that is giving grants in Africa. You're wrong. Mauritius, Seychelles, Equatorial Guinea, Gabon, Botswana, Namibia. I think even Lesotho, probably even Zambia to a certain extent. So it depends on what level of grants and the amount. Countries like Mauritius are actually giving more to their citizens, because if you look at the standards of living in Mauritius and even their GDP per capita is two or three times bigger than ours. So they're doing extremely well. So it's not South Africa that is only doing this. In a proper country that is running should have a social systems in place where the poor can also benefit in their country. The question when it comes to South Africa is about how we monitor these things and how we enforce the laws. I think that's what you must look in, not to say these things are implemented for good intentions. And it was not only, remember, Mandela was just an employee to serve the people of South Africa. The whole body was agreeing on these laws, be from all the races that you see in South Africa, and even the government after Mandela. In fact, it was the government of Thabo Mbeki that introduced most of these grants, because the government of Thabo Mbeki was a very, very good government, and even economically wise. Thabo Mbeki was very good in running economy of this country. So it was by the era of Thabo Mbeki, in fact, that most grants were secured in the country, because even our GDP that time, GDP per capita, was doing extremely well. The question you should be looking into is how we implement this, how we enforce the laws to make sure that the right people are benefiting and people are not taking advantage of these democratic laws. I think that's what you should look at, because I think even China there as well. Yeah, I'm not saying China can, maybe if I'm wrong, can correct me, but there is a level of social systems that the government is giving to the people of China.
Of course, and also if you were to compare China and also South Korea from what it was close to 50, 60 years ago, these two nations were the poorest countries in Asia. But look at now, China is even the second biggest economy in the world, with economists forecasting China to be the leading economy by the year 2025. You understand? And all of that is due to government intentionally. It's due to government intentionally investing in their people, in their infrastructure, and in their country. So would you call that entitlement from the Chinese people? Well, like how would you define that?
No, you okay. Let me put it in a way that you guys, maybe let me make it very simple, right? The entitlement that I mean South Africans are accustomed to. You know, the grant thing, I'm not against it. You guys talking as if I'm against grant, right? But if you listen to some let's say AfriForum, you know, when AfriForum talks about grant, is doing more harm to our people than actually helping them, right? It's doing more harm to our economy than actually helping us. Because number one, if you get the economy steady, you can get people jobs. I mean, I come from a place where you see people getting this grant money, having babies, teenagers, right? And after that, they just drop out of school. It's become very lazy people because they're receiving a government subsidy every month. So they live on that little because they don't look for more, you know?
My brother, can I just cut you?
Yeah,
I think
wait.
what pieces Ready and probably even me. You have a simplified way of looking at very complex, approach.
Everything you say isn't based on facts.
Yeah,
it's not factual. What about those?
Yeah, these are very very touchy subjects, and these are very complex social systems. So what you cannot take the experience of where you grew up and think
your only isolated
it's
experience and equate it to everyone in the country and paint the entire South Africans with one brush to say that all of us are trying to make babies and trying to get grants. I mean, why would you even paint such a picture of South Africans?
Let's bring him to stats as well. Yes, there's isolated areas like where probably maybe if you come from township or wherever you come from, it could be like that. But generally in South Africa, we don't have a problem of booming babies, because an average South African woman has got 2 babies, and that's it. And on average, so we
I didn't talk
actually
about babies.
No, but
I'm talking
trying
about the grant issue and the economy.
No, but yeah, but the grant issue you mentioned, you did mention that young people just make babies to benefit. That's not a thing in South Africa. Nobody is popping out babies to benefit. If there's few cases, yes, but in a general sense, it's not what South Africans are doing. Majority, in fact, South Africans are the most taxed people on the continent. Have you ever seen a sheet where it's showing our annual tax revenue compared to, I'm probably comparing to the west of Africa, but comparing to the African countries? Have you ever looked at the amount of the budget that this West government is spending, the ANC? I don't like them, but we have to give credit where it's due. The ANC government is pouring one of the largest education budget in Africa, just to raise the level of education for people. So I feel like you have a condescending, what is the word? Like a very biased approach. Condescending, yes. Thank you, Reddy. Yes, it's a very biased way to look at complex systems. You need to, and it's said that you say you are in China, which I think you are operating. You are in one of the highest societies with like about 1.4 billion people. You should know better than us. You probably getting a better exposure, but your mind, it's as if it's closed. I've never left South Africa, but I feel like I've got a better broad understanding of the globe. These are very complex systems. You don't look at them in that general way. Try to look at stats as well, data from viable sources. It helps a lot.
Okay, I want
perhaps
to draw you back a little. I want to draw you back a little. I want to give this one to Lozi. I think he's the one who spoke about this. When we're talking about Zimbabwe, you mentioned something to do with education. Say education has made some people not to want to mobilize the masses or to be involved, or on all these mass mobilization of people. Okay, can you just explain further what you meant by that?
Okay, to be fair, that was a general way of looking at it. I'm not saying I've done a research or there's any case study that I've read. Yeah, it was coming from my own personal observation, which I would like to rationalize the idea that it's not like Zimbabweans are just docile, because Zimbabweans at some point they fought the white government there for their new liberation of from Rhodesia to Zimbabwe. They had a fighting spirit. I was just trying to justify the Zimbabweans that we see today coming from a background of increased literacy rate compared to the previous generation. I was just saying, according from my observation, right, personal experience, the more you educate people, the more their approach in fighting struggles changes. Whether for good or bad, it's what we can discuss. But the people who are educated don't mobilize like people who are not educated when facing these political ideas and all that.
Understand. Unfortunately, Sebastian has left. I wanted to ask him why why he was talking. Why he was saying social grants. They're impacting people negatively. I really wanted him to say us more, because, as far as I know, the different countries, they have these social grants for reasons. Okay. For the elderly, for the single mother, single parenthood homes, and for the sick. So many, there are different kinds that are granted to people. So I wanted him to explain more, but unfortunately, I think.
Can I add? I think Reddy will agree with me. Look, I've been with people of all races in South Africa. If you spend more time with white people, they say the grants are bad for South Africa. For me, my brother there sounded like he's colored or he grew up around. They also get influence from this kind of like look and approach towards life, because South Africa is majority black and these laws sometimes are implemented by black government, and the whiteys here, some of them oppose everything that the black government is doing. But if you check the countries of their origin, where their forefathers comes from, they are running on grants. Their social schemes way higher than South Africa. But they also can afford it because, they've looted the entire world, so they've got all resources in their hands. But saying that the social grants are wrong, are bad for a society, is wrong. I think what we can argue is the implementation of social grants in a society, which I think ANC hasn't done well in that. I mean, can you believe that there's even Zimbabweans who have benefited in RDP houses, even Mozambicans, Malawians? So that's why I see the downfall of it, because these things are built by the taxpayers of the South Africans. So I think it's costing us if they don't monitor it well. But if monitored well, it does help the citizens, you know.
I understand. Anyway, let me see what we're left with. I just want us to complete this video and then we finish.
Requires that there is huge plan, huge preparations. Rwanda didn't become clean overnight. First, they dedicated the entire road from the airport to town. They built new roads, planted grass and water that grass, planted trees. Those things take many years, and ensured that the Kigali was clean. It wasn't clean by just Lusaka can be clean. It's a consolidated plan that can't be done because you're expecting some visitors. So for me, that has concerned me, because our people are coming. The people that are coming are Africans. They're not Europeans. So don't bother about them. Their cities sometimes are not even as good. I've visited many cities in Africa, and Lusaka is among the cleanest. We ourselves know how clean Lusaka was. So we can call it dirty now because our drainages are clogged. You know, we have vendors in our major streets, especially in the CBD. Yes, we can say, and that's why there's a growth around Thabo Mbeki Road and East Park area and Arcades area, where major businesses have shifted to form a new central business district. But that doesn't mean that we are among the West. You have sewer lines. I've been to cities in Africa. Sewer lines run open. You see them passing through town as our sewer lines are covered and run underground. So Lusaka, yes, was far cleaner and far better in the past. That's why it was called the green city.
Okay, so here he was talking about, like I said, the cleanup that has been happening, of vendors. And sometime, I think a month ago, we saw the mayor of Lusaka saying that their city was dirty and illegal immigrants were also contributing to this. So this is when they started to arrest people from Rwanda, from Mozambique, from DRC, from Ethiopia. A lot of them were arrested during that time, and these arrests have been continuing up until now. So they were saying that they were contributing to making their city dirty, and now they put it in mass deportations because of the meeting of the African Union that is going to be happening from the 14th to the 17th. Okay, so this was the background of our story.
Yes, and we welcome it. It's good. It's brilliant. I mean, if you see what Operation Dudula did in Park Station, I've never seen Park Stations clean like that. And if it can be implemented across South Africa, we will truly be the cleanest country in South Africa, I believe. These people come from whatever countries that they come from and think that they can do whatever they want. It's wrong. People, our African brothers need to understand that our relationship goes as far as you respect our laws. We don't care about your skin color or you helped us during apartheid. We don't believe in that blackmailing anymore. Respect our rules, and we welcome it. We're not going to be made to feel as if we are one Africa, and Africa cannot be a foreigner in Africa, and you can just come and sell and disrespect our bylaws. It must come to an end. That's what I believe.
Yeah, look, I agree with Radi, and it's only natural. I mean, Zeki, have you ever threw a house party where you call everyone to come to your yard? You know what happens? They eat bananas, drink beers, and throw them there because it's not their problem. They're not even conscious that much about your yard. Few of them might clean, some of them might clean. If you during the party you say, look, if you drink, please put the drinks here, the bottles here. But if you don't monitor them that much, they just throw everything everywhere. So people don't have any sense of looking after your environment unless they live there themselves. So these people who come here, for them, their loyalties back at home, they might throw things here around, but I don't think they will do it at home like how they do it here. And the thing is, it's sad because as South Africans, like our generation, we know South Africa before, we know how our cities used to look like, and we have seen this problem arise in front of us. So when we say these things, it's not like we are hating, we are just picking, we are just thumping up things and making this thing up. We are talking from a lived experience, and this is collective of many South Africans. I mean, from our small cities to the big cities. Today, you cannot even walk on the pavement. It's people with strange faces that you don't even know. But we are told that it's one African. No, we're not one. We don't even look the same. We should be one in a sense that we are all African. We are all black. In front of all other groups and all other races, we must unite there in the ideology of preserving Africa for us to benefit us. But when it comes inside Africa now, it's a whole ball game. We also not the same, and we must respect each other, our environment, and our cultures. We, the generation of South Africa today, we're gonna stop this thing, and we're not gonna allow it to continue because our cities are dirty. I mean, if you can go to CBD Johannesburg today, Zach, even you as not as like from Zimbabwe, you will feel sorry for. If you're honest with yourself, you will feel sorry for us. So no.
Wow. Anyway, so thank you so much, guys, for joining. I don't want to be long today. I have other commitments to do. So thank you so much for joining the discussion. Hope to see you again when our network permits. Thank you, Reddy. Thank you, Lozi.
Okay, bye, guys.
Okay, bye. Thank you. Okay, thank you so much, everyone who joined us tonight. And we are very thankful because today the network was working perfectly. And for those of you who are watching on Facebook, again, thank you so much. Don't forget to hit the like button and support, okay? And for those of you who joined us on our usual channel, the YouTube channel, thank you so much. Again, I appreciate you. I will join you again for another discussion. So today we were talking about a Zambian legislature who say that why are we conducting mass deportations of Africans days before the African Union? Because Zambia is going to be hosting the African Union meeting from the 14th to the 17th of this month. And also there have been some, a mass arrest of illegal immigrants in Zambia, some of them being deported. And last week, some Ethiopians, conducted a hunger strike where they were saying they wanted to push the Zambian immigration office to send them back to their country, okay, to deport them. They say that they've finished serving their sentences. So why are they still in detention? They need to go home. So they went on a hunger strike. So this is what we're talking about, foreigners in Zambia. My name is Ziki, and thank you so much one more time. And have a lovely, lovely Saturday. For me, it's already evening. My Saturday is already coming to an end, and I know some of you, my friends, you're already in the afternoon. So have yourself a wonderful, wonderful